Hey guys, so welcome back. SJM's father is just going ahead with his own scientifically based investigation. And in his latest blog post, he is putting on trial Mr. A's stuff, and he is putting on trial the missing witnesses. Yes, and that is leading us to a different conclusion, especially what happened between 2 to 3 a.m. And I'll share with you what conclusion that leads me to, at least. And you know how Mr. A's team was trying to put all of these suggestions out there to lead us to this conclusion that perhaps SJM just walked to his death in the river? Well, the evidence that SJM's father is leading us to are all of the inconsistencies of Mr. A, which other people would describe as lies. So first of all, thanks again. We are at almost 3/4 of the signatures we need for the National Assembly petition to go through. It's well over 70,000. We need 100,000, and we have until September 18th. So thank you to all who have pushed your friends in Korea to sign the petition. And of course, you can sign the petition on the change.org link that I made, and we can both show that we're all behind SJM's father to really bring about some progress on this. And it looks like we have some really great momentum. And so in his latest blog post, he did thank all of the people who helped him really get the attention of the presidential candidate, Hwang Kyo-an. So it really does look like there is some really amazing support behind that. Let's just see how far that goes. And, you know, if your friends in Korea do need kind of like a one sentence big reason why they need to really sign this petition, I've been essentially telling people like, yes, this is very horrible, but if you look at one of my previous videos where I did make a joke about the cover-up home shopping network, I think that's essentially it. If this does not get resolved, it really does prove that you don't have to be super, super, super rich to get away with murder. You can just be rich. And then at what point is it going to be you just have to be Costco rich to get away with murder? And then maybe E-Mart rich, and then, I don't know, Daiso rich. Like, when are we going to stop this progression? And then suddenly everybody's just been killing each other all over the place. We have to take a stand. And I think we're already just okay with if you're mega rich, fine, you can get away with it. But I mean, even that's kind of sad, right? So let's please at least draw a line and a limit. All right, so we do know the whole thing about Mr. A throwing away his shoes and his t-shirt, and their excuse was, oh, they're so old. They were so cheap, you know, they were like 3 for $20 or something like that, and he'd been wearing them for a long time. Well, SJM's father just reposted all of the screenshots from the CCTV footage that showed Mr. A's shoes and his t-shirt, and the smartphone videos that they had took when he was dancing and doing all sorts of stuff. And he's like, these shoes look new there. They look new there. The shirt looks pretty good there. It looks pretty white there to me. And so he was basically calling out those things as basically reminding us of physical evidence, destruction of evidence, and how that excuse of it just being like, oh, just old stuff that we just wanted to get rid of the day after all of the events happened is very suspicious. And then he did repeat something that, you know, I didn't really want to repeat because it seemed like more of like this online rumor or kind of speculation, but it was a bit odd, but this is what it was. And he did say it. And when they did go to the convenience store for the last time at 1:31 a.m., where they bought 2 bottles of makgeolli and 1 bottle of soju, and then when they got the call to pick up their samgyeopsal, and then they ran, Mr. A just left his backpack and his wallet, and his backpack had like his iPad and his laptop, and he just left it there. And so a lot of Korean people, a lot of netizens were saying like, that is very, 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 very odd. Most people would not leave that many valuables just on an unattended picnic mat. So that led people to believe that it wasn't just the 2 of them, or that Mr. A had other friends, and that there were more players to this story, and that there are more witnesses or more people that should be called to testify. So perhaps SJM's father knows a little bit something more now to the story, and he's actually perhaps giving us a preview of his next statement about the witnesses. So that is a little bit odd. Yes, people have been saying like, oh, in Korea, if you go to a cafe, and this is definitely true, but you have to keep in mind, if you come to Korea, you go to a cafe, you can literally leave your laptop on the table. If you need to go to the bathroom, you don't have to take your laptop with you to the bathroom. You can leave it there. Nobody will take it, even though I'm still paranoid. I would take it. But most people say you don't have to take it and it'll still be there. That's probably because, I will say people will say, oh, Korean people won't steal it because, they're nice, they won't steal it. I think it's because there's CCTV cameras everywhere and there's no point. There is no point. But, so then why do they say on the picnic area, what happens to their niceness then? So in the picnic area, everybody's saying like, that's weird. Nobody would leave it in the picnic area because there's no CCTV cameras in every tree. So that's why people were saying that was very odd. Why would Mr. A leave all of his stuff on the picnic mat unattended? So that was repeated by SJM's father. And so that was quite interesting. All right, and then in another blog post, which he labeled Vain Hope. So remember when SJM, when he was filming and Mr. A ran and SJM was like, all right, come back, throw away your vain hopes and come back. And SJM's father was even like, what the hell does throw away your vain hopes mean? Like, what was my son saying to you, Mr. A? So he was even implying something, Mr. A, like, did you have? And so now he is going into all of these possibilities of, I believe, motive. Like, did you have some sort of intentions on my son? Did you have some sort of feelings for my son? Was there some sort of reason why you would want to harm my son? And so I think that is very interesting that he's slyly slipping that in there. But that was not necessarily the main point of this blog post, but I thought it was very interesting and poignant that he titled the blog post that, even though he mainly focused on the witnesses. So in this video, he freeze framed all of the pictures and he wanted to outline all of the witnesses that he was able to see from the video, and he mapped it out on a chart and he mapped it out to compare to the witness map that the police provided. And he saw glaring inconsistencies, that there were a lot of missing witnesses. So obviously the police seem to have cherry-picked the witnesses. And so from his map and the police's map, you could see that maybe 2 of them made it onto the police's map. And We do not know, he says, and I'm glad he confirmed this. We do not know. We don't get to know the identities of the police witnesses. So we cannot, as citizens, cross-check and verify whether the witnesses that the police said they called are true. So like if we want to double check and confirm whether we can trust the police, we can't. We have to take the police's word of the witness's identity and what is in there. So that is why I again am super suspicious of, again, witness number one. Remember how witness number one, I've always said from the beginning, I do not believe that they were there until 3:47 a.m. I believe that, remember how they were saying that picture, that infamous picture that only showed Mr. A alone, that exposed the lie, and that is the pivotal smoking gun of this whole case, says so much, because if that picture weren't there, we would have to believe that witness number one was sitting there, SJM was sitting there, and Mr. A was sitting there. But witness number one wasn't there. SJM wasn't there. Only Mr. A was there. So I believe that witness one, that group, was probably real, but I believe the police probably, instead of wrote 247, just went 347, so that they can kind of fudge the numbers. And when the witnesses said, oh yeah, we saw them sitting there at 2:37, they kind of probably just made it 3:37 to be able to fit the storyline of Mr. A. Okay, so if you follow me here, I think this is where SJM's father is trying to lead us with this new forensic analysis, with this new scientifically based analysis. If we just kind of like speed everything up, let's just not even go to the National Assembly. Let's just solve the case right now. I think what the lie is, this is the big lie. So this is how I think you professionally lie and make it extremely believable. You have to describe something you actually did, but you change the details so that you make it advantageous to whatever you're trying to lie about. So let's say you did plant a rose garden, you felt the earth, you knew exactly like how all the details were, but let's say you did it last year, but you were lying and you said you did it yesterday. So that way you can actually describe everything in detail and real. So this is what I think Mr. A is trying to do with 2 to 3 a.m. and 3 to 4 a.m. I think during, remember, the 2 to 3 a.m. hour, I think he really did try to shake SJM awake. Because remember that 2:18 a.m. keeled over photo? He was trying to get SJM awake because it looked like he had just suddenly collapsed, almost like dead, like OD'd or something. Did not look right about SJM, whether it was alcohol or something else, but I think literally, they were sitting on the mat. They were trying to get somewhat awake. That was true. Okay, Google. Go to sleep. So 2 to 3 a.m., he legitimately was there. He was trying to do all of that. And in his testimony, when he was talking the day after to SJM's parents, he did say, so you were shaking him real hard when he was sleeping. and it was before 3 a.m. But what he's trying to do is sort of double claim. He's trying to claim that he dragged him up and did that. So, in the original testimony, he tried to claim that SJM ran, tripped, fell, he dragged him up, and then he was trying to shake him awake, all before 3 a.m. Right? So the goal is to make sure that no matter what, he did go over the riverbank, but he dragged him up. He got to establish that he did drag him back up. That's what he's trying to make sure that he established. But then there was a hiccup in that because another witness said that, oh no, like he was asleep until after 3 a.m. So there's no way then he could have ran while asleep. So then he had to change his story. Oh, it was after 3 that I dragged him up and then I was shaking him. See, so originally he said that he was shaking him awake after he dragged him up in the 2 to 3 block. Then he said he dragged him up and was shaking him awake at around 3:30. But in both instances, the lie part was the drag up. He never dragged him up. The real part is the shaking. So that's how you do a lie that's a bit believable, because the shaking part he did, and then you tack on what you need to get accomplished, which is the drag up. And we can see from the CCTV cameras, nobody believes that he dragged him back up. I don't know anybody who has seen the CCTV evidence who would argue that anybody got dragged back up. So that to me seems like where we do now, when you compare the testimony of him speaking the day after and then the other witnesses and then his contradictory lawyer statement, it now makes sense where the lie was concocted and how it clashes. And through the clash, I think we see the truth. So, does this make more sense? Or does it make more sense that SJM just magically woke up out of a sleep and walked into the river to his death, and that was witnessed 86 meters away by a first-time fisherman that has very shady credentials and may not even be real themselves, and was also witnessed by a witness number 1 that might not even exist because they didn't even show up in a photo. I mean, we're talking about ghosts and spirits here and perhaps a con man. All right, guys, what else do you want to know? Let us know in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, do all of that stuff. Make sure you sign the petition and share it widely. All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye, guys.
Tune in next time. Don't forget to subscribe. Find us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Love you.